On May 4, Senators Duff and Maher will try to sell you Senate Bill 1271. They'll tell you that you have two choices. Either you allow sexually explicit materials into children's libraries, or you are trying to ban Kill a Mockingbird. That's a false choice, a manipulation designed to shame and silence parents. This bill isn't about banning books. It's about protecting children and preserving your right as a taxpayer and parent to have a say in what's appropriate in schools and public libraries. The bill is an overreaction to a handful of book challenges and gives sweeping control to Hartford bureaucrats over what goes into school libraries and children's sections of public libraries, paid for by your tax dollars. Senator Duff paints a picture of librarians heroically defending free speech.
Banning library books has been called the civil rights fight of our time. School libraries do not and never will carry X-rated material. Classic books that are considered part of America's cultural heritage have been banned, and we know a lot of these books: Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, George Orwell's 1984, Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
But that's not what parents are concerned about. Parents aren't protesting Huckleberry Finn. They're trying to keep graphic, sexually explicit materials out of children's hands.
I'm talking about pornography being smuggled into public schools under the guise of sexually explicit graphic comic books. Let me be very clear. That is the context for what I'm saying here. Somebody asked the question earlier. I'm talking about Let's Talk About It by Erica Moen, available at Conard High School in West Hartford, Connecticut. They run a sex education-focused web comic called Oh Joy, Sex Toy. They have published this book, and it's available at the West Hartford, at least one place in a Conard High School. So that's what I'm talking about.
I have a few key concerns with this bill. One, that it limits control over library material. Local control, rather. This bill forces school libraries to adapt state-approved policies, stripping local communities of the right to decide what is appropriate for their children. Schools should be accountable to parents and not bureaucrats, setting one-size-fits-all mandates. Public libraries that refuse to comply will lose state funding, punishing towns that want to control over their own institutions. 2, it creates bureaucracy barriers to removing inappropriate content. Parents who object to inappropriate materials will have to go through a possibly lengthy review process instead of having their concerns addressed locally. This bill prioritizes ideology over education, ensuring certain books and materials cannot be challenged or removed, no matter how controversial or inappropriate for a specific age group. 3, school libraries should focus on academic excellence, not political activism. This bill requires collections, displays, and programs to meet state-imposed inclusion mandates, regardless of whether they align with the educational priorities.
The porn addiction is real. I mean, it is real. A 12-year-old, and he's older now, but he was 12 years old when he first started founding on little kids. And yes, I do know that he can go on his phone and go here, and he can go anywhere, to steal porn time. But what I'm afraid of is that he can go into a school and see this stuff and say, well, my librarian says it's okay, my teachers are saying it's okay, so it's okay. So then who becomes the pedophile, really, at 12 years old? And porn addiction seems to be by far the hardest things to get kids delivered from. And that is my main concern, as a pastor, as a grandparent, that if we say, hey, it's okay, and I have librarian friends who wouldn't show up today because of the fact that of the political process, they were afraid to get in trouble.
The people you just heard aren't extremists. They're parents, pastors, taxpayers, deeply worried about what children are being exposed to without their consent, with their tax dollars.
If you think that some child is going to a library to get porn, I got a bridge to sell you. because they can get it right on their phone much faster than they could ever get it at their library, because it's not there.
Instead of answering legitimate concerns, Senator Duff ducks the issue. He says children can find pornography on their cell phones, as if that's an excuse. Think about that. Just because kids can find it elsewhere, should we hand it to them, validate it in public libraries paid for by you?
I have with me tonight an excerpt from the book called Genderqueer. It's an illustrated book. I only read a smidge of it. I was 11 or 12 years old the first time I can remember fantasizing about having a penis. For years, my standard method of
Actually, ma'am, I'm sorry.
What?
I want to make sure that when we are having these discussions, that is a book. That is the words, but that is appropriate for a certain age group. We can't guarantee that our audience is made up of people who are all over the age and it's appropriate for them to hear something like this. Do you mind submitting that for testimony and we can recognize it officially?
Christine Rebstock was stopped from reading aloud from a book available to children in public libraries. Why? Because the material was too explicit for the Connecticut Capitol hearing room. If it's too raw for elected officials to hear, it's too raw for school and tween libraries. Don't let them shame you. Don't let them lie to you. Senate Bill 1270. One isn't about banning To Kill a Mockingbird. It's about silencing parents, stripping local control, and pushing graphic material into children's spaces under the false flag of freedom. Stand up, speak out. Protect our kids, and protect our right to decide what's appropriate in our libraries.